Okay, so this week, focus on what you're good at. I know there are things you want to master within yourself, but now isn't the time. Self development for you in this season is to focus on what you're great at. So sometimes in life, we have to deal with things that are underdeveloped in us, right? We have to deal with our weaknesses, we have to deal with our flaws, we have to deal with those areas there's opportunity at. But what I felt like the Lord was saying is like right now, don't focus on that, because some of that can be super discouraging for some of you all, and he doesn't want you to be discouraged. He wants you to focus on what you're strong at, because the things that you're strong at is what he wants you to do. So instead of focusing on, what's underdeveloped and beating yourself up and saying, oh, I'm doing this and I struggle with this and I struggle with that, the Lord is saying focus on what you're good at. And as you focus on what you're good at, it's going to really, really encourage you. It's going to begin to do stuff in your body chemically in real life. You know what I'm saying? When you get excited, when you start achieving victories, when you start taking some wins in, it starts doing stuff in your body that actually encourages you and makes you feel good. And that's going to act as fuel to keep you going and to keep you pushing. And what you'll find is what God is having you do is to really, really carve out your niche. Your niche is like your special thing. It's your purpose in this case. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of your destiny. It's why you're here. And when I say purpose, know that purpose evolves, because over time the Lord will have you do other stuff as you mature and as you are really responsible with something. He'll say, okay, now it's time for us to go and do this. But in this season, it's a super delicate season. I feel like for some people, and the Lord just wants you to really, really focus on what you're good at and not to beat yourself up on the things that you're not really doing so great. That's not your stuff right now anyways. He wants you to focus on what you're great at, because what you're great at is really, really that area that he wants to help you carve out in life, if that makes sense. All right, I'm out of here. I love you guys. I hope you had the most amazing day. Emily, I was just saying that in 2020, I'm going to have people that are going to be coming on the podcast and the blog, The Smoking Prophet in general, and you're one of those people. I've already done some stuff with her. I just have to wait to release it. For the rest of this year, me and Dante are going to do stuff and carry you guys over and really, really help you to prepare for the new year and to just get encouraged about what you're doing. We don't want you to be scared. We don't want you to feel like you can't do something. And if we can empower you and give you some tools to help you get there, then we want to do that. And we also want you to get to the place of where, thank you, Diane, I'm going to read that in just a minute. We also want you to get to the place where you stop letting people who aren't doing anything tell you what to do. Okay, did you catch that? It's so funny to me sometimes, and I got to get off of here. It's so funny to me sometimes how people that aren't doing anything will give you advice and try to tell you what to do. And the advice they give you is really discouraging, because they'll be like, you should probably wait to do that. You should probably do this. Like, wait a minute, I'm not waiting because you're scared. You want to try to make me live out your fear vicariously? The devil is a liar. You know what I'm saying? I'm not scared. If God has told you to do something, then you take that risk on God, okay? If God has put on your heart to do something, then you've got to do it. There's a window of opportunity for you to do it. Apostle Julie, God bless you. I got to get into my inbox and email and message you. I'm going to do that by tomorrow. Today I'm going to rest. But if God has told you to do something, you've got to do it, because there's a window of opportunity on it. And you can't allow people that are afraid to discourage you and to try to make you live out their fear vicariously. Who does that? You know what I'm saying? And you can't let people that aren't doing anything tell you you can't do it. And some people will even try to make you feel like you have to have everything in place. First of all, you'll never have everything in place. It's a scripture in Ecclesiastes that I talk about on the blog, in a blog post called Opportunity and Risk. And I talk about how basically there never is a perfect time. And one of the examples that I used in there that's coming to mind now is about the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul got called into ministry by Jesus himself. So this happened in Acts, the 9th chapter. This is where Paul was knocked off his horse. He was blinded. Now, from there, Paul had a vision of a man in Macedonia was called there. Paul got sent different places. Paul was doing the work, and let me go back and say this. When he had that visitation with Jesus, he didn't immediately start walking publicly in ministry. He sat and studied, and then he eventually went to the apostles and told them. But even after Paul, had the vision of the man in Macedonia, Paul was told by this prophet named Agabus. This is a very small scripture in the book of Acts. He was told by him, this man did a prophetic act. He took off his belt and he tied it around Paul's waist. And he was basically like, you go here, this is going to happen to you. It's not going to be good. And Paul didn't allow that to discourage him. And he went anyways. And through his life, so many people were transformed. We have almost half of the New Testament books were written by him. The gospel was preached in public. It was taken throughout Rome, and Rome was basically the hub of civilization during that time. So Paul's obedience really, really mattered. Now, if Paul would have waited and said, I gotta have this together, and I just got this word, and oh man, so it's gonna be some challenges. I ain't ready to go yet. If Paul would have done that, those scriptures in the Bible may not exist. You know what I'm saying? Those scriptures that are there as a lesson to teach and encourage us, where we can pull principles out for today, it may not be there. So, don't be discouraged to do what God has called you to do. And I feel like that's another reason why the Lord is saying, you need to focus on what you're good at in this season, and to stop beating yourself up with what you don't know. See, one of our problems is that we want to know everything, but we can't. It's impossible. God created us to have limits so that we would need other people, okay? He created us, y'all, I forgot I had on my shorts. He created us to have limits so that we would need other people. So you're not going to know everything. And if you're so busy out here trying to get and pull all this information together, it's like you're never going to fire the shot, jump off those starting blocks, and start running the race into whatever God has called you to do. So what you've got to do is just focus on what the Lord has given you. Focus on what you're good at. What you're good at is linked into your purpose. That's linked into your niche, if we want to talk about real life business and that kind of stuff, and goals, career stuff. Your niche is linked into that. Your purpose is linked into that. So start digging in those areas. Start laying the groundwork in those areas. And as the Lord is saying in this season, it's a super delicate season. Don't focus on the stuff that you're not great at. Focus on what you're great at. If He's told you to do something, you can trust what He says, okay? God is faithful to us when we are faithless. God is faithful to us when we are faithless. God esteems the words He says, the promises that He makes, higher than His name. That means He's super committed to it, okay? So when you put yourself out there, when you take a risk on God, what you can bank on is God is going to be more committed to making it happen than you are. Think about that today. I love you guys. I'm out of here. It's Lola, and this has been your Monday Muse. Grace and peace, Brenda G. Rise and thrive, my friends. Rise and thrive.